Katie Hartfiel, and I am coming to you from Texas. Yeah, see, here's the thing about Texas people, okay? Texas people have some serious, what you say, state pride, okay? Yes. So they sell in Texas waffle makers so that you can eat your waffle the shape of Texas. I've never seen a Missouri waffle. I don't know, maybe I just haven't been here long enough, but that's how much these people love their state. I remember in college, every time I meet somebody from Texas, that's all they wanted to talk about was how great Texas is. So I moved to Texas almost 9 years ago. And so having lived there for a while, I can tell you all those things that those Texas people have to say about their state is 100% true. Texas is awesome, okay? I love Texas. It's like practically the promised land, like flowing with milk and honey and such, okay? It's awesome. I love Texas. So I do have a gripe, though, with Texas. I'm from Houston, and I know there's some Houston people here. So one of the things I was so excited about when I moved there was that we were only going to be an hour and a half away from the beach. And I'm from Colorado originally, so this was like a huge deal for me. So the closest beach is an hour and a half away, and it's an island called Galveston. And one of my friends described Galveston one time as swimming in chocolate milk, and that is fairly accurate about what Galveston looks like, okay? It's the Gulf, everything nasty kind of gets stuck in there, and the water's brown, but you know, it's the beach. So this one weekend, some of our friends, another couple, invited my husband and I to go and stay at her parents' beach house for the weekend. So we were all excited. We get all packed up. We drive in really late at night, and on Saturday morning, we wake up and we're like, it's beach day. So we load up all into our friend's truck, and we're driving towards the beach, and all of a sudden, this interesting smell just fills up the truck, this strange aroma, which I can only really describe as something crawling up my nose and dying, okay? And so as we get closer and closer to the beach, this stench is getting stronger and stronger, and we're like, what in the world is going on? What is that? So we pull up to the dunes, we drive the truck over this big pile of sand, and there the beach opens in front of us, and I have a picture of what we saw when we got there, and that is thousands upon thousands of dead fish all over the beach, okay? So this smell was the smell of death, okay? There was this fish holocaust happening in Galveston. I don't know what happened, but we're there, and we're like, okay, well, we drove all this way. We're here for our beach weekend. What do we do? There's like all these people out there playing Frisbee, like they don't even notice. There's carnage like all around them. And so we're like, well, I guess we'll try. So we drive down the beach a little bit, see if it gets a little bit better, and we find this area where we have like this 10-foot radius, maybe with no dead bodies around. So we set out our lawn chairs, we lay down. My husband Mark's like, Katie, if you just close your eyes, it sounds just like Hawaii. I'm like, Mark, Hawaii does not smell like this. It was so nasty. So the boys decided that we were going to play home run derby. So they're out and they're like shagging the balls, diving in the water because they're boys and that's weird, whatever. And so the girls, it was our turn up at bat. So my friend, she goes over, she's got the wiffle ball and the bat. She throws it up, pulls her bat back, swings, and hits the wiffle ball. But as she does, she steps in the sand barefoot on a dead fish. Okay, so her reaction is she just starts screaming and running down the beach, and she's just gone. So we're like cracking up, right? Well, the crazy thing was that these fish had been laying out for hours in the Houston sun, and they had gotten all blown up and bloated, okay? So when she stepped on this fish, its stomach went popping out of its mouth, and it had this big bubble sticking out of its mouth, and it made this loud popping sound. So my husband comes over, and he's looking around, and he's like, that is awesome. And so he is like going around these monster fish and he's just stomping on them, like all over the beach, popping fish, their stomach and their gut shooting out their mouth, okay? So this didn't last for very long. It got old quickly. We're like, we are done with the beach. We packed everything up, got in the truck, went back to the beach house. Well, then we realized that we smelled like dead fish after having hung out there. So first order of business, take showers. We take all of our towels and our clothes and everything, throw them in a trash bag. We didn't want to bring them in the beach house, so this is a good idea. We put them in the trunk of my car for 2 days in 100 degrees in Houston. Yeah, exactly. So I get home. I take that trash bag into my condo upstairs to my laundry room. I open it up, and I kid you not, I almost threw up in my washing machine. It was seriously the most disgusting smell I've ever smelled in my life. I pull out my husband's shoes, and like in the creases are like fish guts, right? Like all stuck up in there, sitting in my car for 2 days, right? And it was memorable. Let me put it that way, okay? I'll never forget. So my husband Mark has this saying, and he says, when we swim in the ocean, we start to smell like fish. And what this means is, what he means by this, is that when we are surrounded by our culture, by the ocean, it is hard to not take on the properties of that culture, of that ocean. When we swim in the ocean, we start to smell like fish. Now, Annie was painting a picture for us of what is happening in our culture around us. He painted a picture of us, of the culture of death, what John Paul II called the culture of death. And girls, we are swimming in the ocean of the culture of death every day. So the question is, how do we escape without smelling like fish? Now, I don't know if you're like me, but I remember when I was in high school, all I wanted to do was to fit in, to be normal. I wanted to know what to wear. I wanted to know what movies everybody was going to be quoting. I wanted to know what songs everybody was going to be singing. I just wanted to know what I was supposed to be doing to fit in. So the question for all of you here today is, do you want to fit in? Do you want to be normal? Or do you want to stand out from the crowd by merit of your virtue? And I know that that's a tough question as a high schooler, but let me put it a different way. Do you want to marry a guy that is normal, that fits in, that's just like all the other fish in the sea? Or do you want a man who stands out because of his virtue? And I'm not just talking about somebody that's funny and tells you you're beautiful every day and makes you laugh, okay, blah, blah, blah. I know you want all that. Somebody that's good looking, okay? I'm talking about a guy that is starving for your holiness. I am talking about a guy that is going to step out of the way to let you walk to communion in front of him, and afterwards, you're both going to pray there, and he is going to be in awe of Jesus present inside you and Jesus present inside him. Do you want a man that is a warrior for your children's sanctity? Or do you want dead fish man? Okay? Obviously, that's what you're looking for, right? Oh, there they are. Okay. There's our dead fish. So you can go ahead and put that down. Thank you. So, of course, you know, who are you looking for? Are you looking for that kind of a guy? Or are you looking for somebody that's just like everybody else? And that's an easy question. So then the question becomes, are you living a lifestyle? Are you the type of girl that a guy like that would be attracted to? But furthermore, are you living a lifestyle that is honoring and serving the man whom you should love above all things? Are you living your life as a woman in love with Christ? And can the people around you tell that you are a woman in love? Now, this phrase, woman in love, was coined by my youth group, and I used to be a youth minister, and we started calling ourselves women in love as an alternative to the phrase woman of God. So I've never been to a men's session. I don't know what they're talking about over there. But what I do know is that oftentimes the guys will come back from the men's session and they're like all fired up about being a man of God, right? They're like ready to like go out, be warriors, live in the jungle, kill their own meat, and be men of God, right? They are all fired up about it. And I don't know about you, but when I hear the phrase woman of God, I think like long wool, floral skirts, really scratchy, like never cutting my hair again and just wearing it in a really big bun, churning butter. Like that's what I think of when I think of being a woman of God, okay? And there's nothing wrong with going all Little House on the Prairie, okay? But there's nothing about it that makes me like, sign me up, right? But that's where this phrase woman in love comes in, because we all want to be in love, right? There's something within us as women that just turns on when we start talking about relationship, when we start talking about being in love. So I want to share with you guys my story, and I think that God wrote an amazing, amazing love story when he brought my husband and I together. But you're going to have to wait until tonight at the evening session. That's when I'll share it with you. I know you guys are all, girl, tell me more, right? So I bring that up to you because, as I say that, like something within us is like, oh, a love story, And I mean, even Annie earlier, he's like, when my wife and I were engaged, and you hear all the girls like, oh, engaged? Okay. We love to talk about it. We love to talk about love. We want to hear about it. We want to experience it. That's why there's this whole genre called chick flicks, right? Because we love it. We love it. And when we are in love, I can tell you from experience that love transforms us. When you find the man that God is calling you to, you become the best version of yourself. You find joy and meaning in your life, and you want to share it with everybody you know. When I first got engaged, it was like everywhere I went, I was like hoping people would notice my ring. I'm like at the grocery store, I'm like, here is my credit card. Oh, would you like to hear about it? I'll tell you. So we love to share it, right? And being a woman in love with Christ is no different. It transforms us. We become the women that we are called to be, and we want to share it. We want to share it with everybody that we know. And I want to share with you guys this afternoon a story about a woman in love. For real this time. And this is the story of the woman at the well. And I know that you guys have probably all heard this story 100 times, but I hope that you'll open yourself up this afternoon to something new that God might want to share with you through this story. So this story is sometimes called the prodigal daughter. And the difference between the prodigal daughter and the prodigal son is that the prodigal son was a parable that Jesus told to teach a point. But this story really happened. And I want to set the stage for you of the woman at the well and the importance of the well in this town. So back in the day, the well in the town was the only place that people could go to get water for their homes. So every day they would have to come out and fill up a big jar and take it back to their homes. So me personally, this makes me very thankful for all my first world problems, okay? Because I really love me some running water. I wouldn't know what I would do if I didn't have running water in my house. So here we have all of the women in this Samaritan town. This was their job, very first thing in the morning, to go out and to fetch the water. Because if they didn't do it first thing, they had no water for their chores, for their washing, for their cooking, for anything. So the image that we have is taking all of the women in a town and putting them all in one place the very first thing of the day. So what happens when you get a whole gaggle of girls all together in one place? Talkie, that's right. Okay, when I was in college, there was one night, it was like a whole bunch of my girlfriends were hanging out, and my husband, Mark, was there with us, but he was my boyfriend at the time. And so my friends and I don't know what we were talking about, but we started getting like really, really excited. And you know when girls are all talking together and they start getting really, really excited, and then we start talking faster and faster, and then our voices get louder and louder and higher pitch, and then all of a sudden everybody's just laughing, right? So I look over at Mark, and he has this face that's like, sweet baby Jesus, please tell me what's happening right now. It was probably like if any of those boys would have been in here when you guys were jumping around dancing. When we first started, they're like, what's going on? And so he told me that when this happens, when girls start getting like all excited and talking, that all he hears when the noise hits his ears is digga-digga-doo, 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 digga-digga-doo. And so over the years in college, dig-a-doo turned into a verb, and so his friends would talk about my friends and I dig-a-dooing, or we became dig-a-doers. So dig-a-dig-a-doo, yeah, that all described what it sounded like. So that's what I like to think of all of these women out there at the well, dig-a-dooing on a daily basis, all right? And so that's important to know because we have our main character of the story who comes to the well at noon. This is the very first thing that we learn in the story, is that it was about noon. And this should stand out to us because she doesn't come when all the other dig-a-doers are there in the morning. She comes at the hottest time of the entire day, the time when nobody else is going to be out there. And so what we learn from that is that this woman wants to be alone. And I can imagine that she was a little bit annoyed as she approached the well and she saw this tired man who was leaning against the well. And so as she comes up, Jesus initiates a conversation with her. And as they talk, we find out why it is that she wants to be alone. Jesus says to her, let's see, what does he say? He says, "Go and call your husband and come back." The woman answered him and said, "I do not have a husband." Jesus answered her, "You are right in saying that you do not have a husband. For you have had 5 husbands, and the one that you have now is not your husband." So we find out that the woman wants to be alone because she identifies herself in 2 ways. And that's what this talk is all about this afternoon. It's about our identity. So we find out what the identity of the woman at the well is. And the first point is that she identifies herself with her sin. She has taken on this sinfulness, and she has turned it into what she sees of herself. And so we can think about this with an analogy about all of us. And I want you to imagine that this is you, okay? And specifically that this is your soul, specifically after your baptism, okay? That the Lord gives you a gift, and that he gives you a gift of purity. And the Lord intends you to take this gift and to protect it, to hold on to it, and to give it as a gift to your future spouse on your wedding. But more than that, this is the purity of your heart. And the pure of heart see God. That is what Jesus tells us in the Beatitudes, that the pure of heart will see God, and that we need to have a pure heart if we want to see the Lord. And so this is what happens when we are tempted in sin. This is what happens when we gossip. We damage this gift. When we judge other people, when we judge ourselves, when we struggle with despair. Maybe some of you here have problems with not taking enough time for the Lord, being lazy in your faith, not making it a priority. Maybe you struggle with different impurities in your life. Maybe it's impure jokes, impure thoughts, pornography, masturbation, oral sex, or any number of different sins that we all struggle with as girls. Now imagine our souls exposed. And imagine if this is the gift that you have to offer to your husband on your wedding night. And more heartbreaking, imagine that this is the gift that you have to give to the Lord when you meet him after your death. And the woman at the well took this as her identity. She started to see herself as damaged goods, as unworthy. She came to see herself as wounded and sinful. And so she continued to fall into deeper and deeper sin because of it. And the second thing that we know about the woman at the well, the second place that she found her identity was in what other people thought of her. Because she was going to do whatever she could do to avoid all of those dig-a-doers in the morning, because it was likely that maybe they were talking about her. So she went to hide from them. And so what about you? Where do you find your identity? How do you identify yourself? Do you identify yourself with your sin, with your guilt, and with your brokenness? Do you identify yourself by your clique, by the people that you hang out with, your friend group where you fit in? Do you identify yourself by an obsession that you might have with a certain band or a celebrity or a book series or a movie series? Do you identify yourself by how many friends you have on Facebook or how many likes you get on your status? Sometimes I write stuff on Facebook and then I go back and look, I'm like, that was way funnier than 5 likes. Like, seriously, people? I feel like I need to repost or something, you know? Do you identify yourself by that, by how many people follow you in the social media world? Do you identify yourself with your sport or with your academics? Do you identify yourself with the things that you wish that you could be, but that you aren't? When you look in the mirror and you look for your identity, do you identify yourself by the things that you hate about your face and about your body? And this is a very important point, girls, and I want to unpack it for a second because it is so important. And I know that, we hear this as women all the time, and it's so cliche to talk about how, we're beautiful, let's all hug, don't listen to the media. But the thing is that this is a very true problem for all of us, myself included, that the devil is having a heyday with our self-image. So much so that it is not only normal for us to hate the way that we look or hate things about ourselves, but it's expected. If you meet a girl today and she looks at you, she's like, girl, I know I'm beautiful. Have you seen all this? You're looking at your friends like, no, she didn't, right? Like, we're not supposed to be walking around like talking about like what great bodies we have and how beautiful our face is, right? It's become expected that we have a low self-esteem. And we spend so much energy looking into tutorials or products or pinning on your motivation board, right? Your workouts on Pinterest. All these different things that we're trying to do to improve ourselves, right? And so we look, what is the image of beauty in our culture? And so, yes, it's cliche, but that's because it's true that the media is defining what beauty is for us as women. We are slapped in the face with it all the time. On billboards, when you're checking out the grocery store, on the magazines that are there. Sometimes it's like on the side panel there, like, all I want to do is just check my email in peace, and there's this bikini girl, like, hanging out on the side of my screen, right? It is all over the place. So I've been really, praying about this a lot and thinking about this a lot. So I found these YouTube videos that are really crazy that show before and after of celebrity photos, not like before they have their makeup on and their hair and stuff, but the actual picture of the celebrity and then after it's been photoshopped. So there's like all of these different string of these videos. I have it posted on my Facebook fan page if you want to see it. But it's amazing to look at these pictures and then what they do before we see that end result. So what happens is, they always make their eyes bigger every time. They raise their cheekbones. They add more hair to make their hair more voluminous. They take out all of if they have any wrinkles or freckles or anything like that. They smooth their skin on their legs. They get rid of their back fat, and they tighten their abs, and they always accentuate their chest area, okay? Every time. And so we have these images that we're seeing and that we're wishing, I want those abs. Like, I want the Brazilian butt workout to work for me, right? Like, this is what I want, and we're looking at these images of beauty, and all of us do it, saying, I want that. And they are images that are not real. And that is an important point. These pictures of these people don't look like that. The people themselves don't look like that. And so we are being lied to. And I want to give you an analogy to help illustrate how crazy this is. I have 2 daughters, and my oldest is 5, and her name's Maria. And so all Maria wants to do every single day of Maria's life is play pretend all day long, okay? So I have like 50 identity crises during the day because I can never remember who I'm supposed to be at any given moment. So I'll be like, Maria, come here. I'll be like, Piglet, come here. Pooh Bear made you this delicious sandwich. And she'll come in and be like, Mom, I'm Nemo, and you're Dory. And I'm like, girl, eat your grilled cheese, right? Only I'm way nicer than that. That's like my inside voice. On the outside, I'm like, oh, I'm Dory. I forgot. Just keep swimming. Eat your sandwich, right? And so Maria went on this kick for a while where all she wanted to do was pretend that she was Tinkerbell. So I was Tinkerbell's sister, Periwinkle, all right? So now imagine for a second that this is you and that you decide that you are going to be a fairy. But you're not like Maria, you're like for real, okay? Like all you want is to be a fairy. And so you're going to do whatever it takes, whatever you got to do to be a fairy. So you start a pin board that's like all about DIY pixie dust recipes, okay? And like every morning when you get up and you look in that full-length mirror and you just think about like what would be the best wing shape for your body type. And then you read like article after article about talking to woodland creatures, okay? And you are just determined like you are going to be a fairy, okay? It's not going to be long before your friends and your family think that you need help, okay? They're going to think you've got a problem, all right? Because no matter what you do, no matter how badly you want it, you ain't never going to be a fairy. And I'm really sorry if I'm like destroying anybody's dreams right now, all right? It's for real time at Steubenville, okay? Doesn't matter what you do, because fairies aren't real. And it doesn't matter what you do. You are never going to be that person that is portrayed in the media. And even if you do get yourself in the best shape ever, and you do follow all the tutorials, and you do buy all the products, you are never going to be satisfied. And so as crazy as it is to spend all of this time and energy thinking about being a fairy, it's crazy for us to spend our time and our energy trying to be something we are never going to be. Now, what if you took that same energy, that same desire, and you applied it towards being the woman that the Lord designed you to be, that He created you to be? And this point is crucial, girls. Knowing who we are is crucial if we want to survive in that ocean of the culture of death. The woman at the well she lost her sense of dignity. The woman at the well lost her identity when she forgot who she was. But Jesus comes to that well, and He comes looking for her. He meets her there. And this is the difference between Christianity and every other religion in the world. The definition of religion outside of Christianity is man looking for God, us seeking God. But Christianity is about God seeking us. And that's exactly what happens that day at the well. Jesus comes out looking for her, and in that moment, she is chosen. Not when she's doing everything right, but in the midst of her sinfulness, the woman at the well is chosen. And Jesus makes her an offer that day. A woman of Samaria came to draw water, and Jesus said to her, "Give me a drink." His disciples had gone into the town to buy food, and the Samaritan woman said to him, "How can you, a Jew, ask a Samaritan woman for a drink? For Jews use nothing in common with Samaritans." Jesus answered and said to her, "If you knew the gift of God and who is saying to you, 'Give me a drink,' you would have asked Him instead, and He would have given you living water." And the woman said to him, "Sir, you do not even have a bucket, and this cistern is deep. Where can you get this living water?" And Jesus answered and said to her, "Everyone who drinks this water will be thirsty again. But whoever drinks the water that I shall give will never thirst. The water I shall give will become a spring of water welling up inside of him to eternal life." And Jesus isn't talking about this woman's physical thirst. He's talking about her spiritual thirst. And he's talking about how He is the only one who can quench her longing. And the woman at the well finds out who she is. And she answers him. She says, "Sir, give me this water so that I might not be thirsty, and I won't have to keep coming here looking to draw water." And what she means by this is, give me this living water so that I can be satisfied, so that I can stop looking all of these other places to find love, to find acceptance, to find redemption, to just find something that is going to make me feel whole. And Jesus answers her. He has the same offer and the same desire for you today. So as the story ensues, we have basically this acknowledgement of her sinfulness, and then we have the Lord making her an offer of Himself, of living water, of salvation, of mercy. And so what that paints a picture of, her acknowledgement of her sinfulness and her acceptance of God's mercy, is that what we have here is Jesus essentially hearing her confession. That she comes and that she brings this brokenness, that she brings her broken gift of self, destroyed by her own free choice. And Jesus, He comes to her, and He doesn't just tape up the box. He doesn't retie the bow and fix it up. Jesus does what He promises in the book of Revelation. Jesus comes and he gives her a new purity. He recreates her and he makes her new. And that is exactly what Jesus wants to do for you this weekend. He wants to come and to give you that living water. He wants to wash you clean. He wants to let you be made whole again. There is not a girl in this room that wasn't chosen. And the Lord wants to encounter you at that well today, this afternoon. The woman at the well becomes a woman in love. The woman at the well becomes a woman madly in love. And this new love transforms her. It transforms everything about her. And the scripture goes on to tell us that the woman who was hiding out from everybody else in town, who wanted to be alone and would do anything to avoid everyone else, that this woman went out and became a disciple. The story goes on and says that she went out into the town and told everyone that she knew about this man that she had fallen in love with. And it says that many people came to know of Jesus because of her witness. That there were people that would have never heard the good news of the Savior if it wasn't for her witness. And this is your challenge as well. Girls, there is somebody in your life that needs Jesus. And you might be the only one in their whole life that will bring him to them. And so your challenge going forth from this weekend when you go home is, will you be a woman in love? Will you go out and be a disciple? And I'm going to tell you what you already know, that it is going to be hard. That you are going to leave here and that the devil is going to use the same trick that worked for him all those years ago in the garden when he approached Adam and Eve and he said, did God really tell you not to eat from any of the fruit in this garden? That he cast doubt. And he's going to try to ask you, did you really experience Christ this weekend? Have you really changed? Or is this just a phase and you're going to go back to the way things were soon? And he might even use your friends and your family to do it. For some of you, your challenge is going to be that you're going to go home and the people that you know are going to think that you were the same girl that got on that bus yesterday. And you have a choice to make. And with every fiber of my being, I hope that you are going to go home when the smoke clears and the band's not there. When somebody looks and asks you what happened that weekend, that you are going to look at them and you are going to say, I fell in love. And love changes everything. When you fall in love with somebody, you find out that you will do whatever you can to protect the heart of the one that you love. And that's when we really understand, girls, that sin is not about breaking a rule, that sin is about breaking a heart. And you have a choice to make. Your choice is between the living water that Christ has to offer you, to cleanse and to give you your identity, to recreate you and to let you know that you are his. You have a choice between the living water and everything else, because there really is no in between. Do you want living water, or do you want the ocean of the culture of death? Do you want to be normal, to just fit in, or do you want to be a woman in love? And sometimes there's going to be times in your life that you feel like you are the only girl that is choosing the living water. More than 42,000 teens are going to attend a Steubenville conference this summer, and countless others have attended in the past, or maybe have never attended but are still choosing to fall in love with the Lord and to choose living water. You are not alone in your choice.